Good evening, and welcome to the September 10th Cross Lake City Council meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, we have some additions to the agenda, which we will need a council motion on. Is there a motion on the floor?
I'll make that motion.
Dave Nevin first. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Dave Schrupp second. All those in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. There is always a lot of information in the consent calendar, and I urge all of you to go on our website and take a look at it. However, all items listed here are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be acted on in one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a citizen or council member so requests. If there are no additions, can I have a motion on the floor to accept the consent calendar as submitted?
I'll make that motion.
Gary Hecox first. Is there a second?
I'll second.
David Nevin second. All those in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. On to the mayor's report. Tonight we have a group of people who are leading our, what I call our Bird City project here in Cross Lake. And just a little background on this, I was sitting at a meeting about the Loon Center at the very beginning, probably almost a year ago now, and I was sitting across from Carol Henderson, who was at that time a person with the DNR. And he looked at me and said, "How would you like to become a Bird City, the fourth one in the state?" And I said, "Okay." And so here we are a couple months later initiating that project in Cross Lake. And so tonight, Catherine McGoldrick is going to read the resolution, and Cindy Nelson, who is the head of that committee, can give you a little background also on how we are progressing with this project in Cross Lake. So, Catherine, do you want to come up and read the resolution? And state your name and address, please.
Thank you. My name is Catherine McGoldrick, and I live in Mission Township, 13625, County Road 109, Maryfield, Minnesota. I represent a group of people that is seeking to make Cross Lake a bird city, as recognized by Audubon, Minnesota. There are currently 3 other cities, Hastings, St. Paul, and Bemidji. This designation could result in a number of positive outcomes that include the potential to increase tourism. Bird watching is one of the most popular forms of outdoor recreation in the United States. In order to be recognized as a bird city, Cross Lake must adopt this resolution to celebrate International Migratory Bird Day. We will then continue to implement best practices to reach the goals of making this a great bird city. Resolution proclaiming International Migratory Bird Day in the city of Cross Lake. Whereas the city of Cross Lake, along with a coalition of local and private stakeholders, including the Paul Bunyan Scenic Byway, United States Army Corps of Engineers, Minnesota Backyard Birds, Minnesota Audubon, Brainerd Lakes Area Audubon Society, B'nai Shih Bird Council, National Loon Center, and the Minnesota DNR have been working to engage people in learning about protecting, enjoying, and helping birds in the Cross Lake area. We believe that our quality of life in Cross Lake is enhanced by birds, thus protecting and improving their local habitat, as well as ours, is of the utmost importance. Whereas birds are some of the most beautiful and easily observed wildlife that share our communities, and whereas birds are an essential part of a healthy ecosystem as pollinators, seed dispersers, insect and rodent predators, and whereas birds play an important economic role in our community by generating millions in tourism and recreational doctors statewide. And whereas birds and their habitats are declining and face a growing number of threats, public awareness and enthusiastic citizens informed about these threats can contribute to maintain a healthy population for the bird family. And whereas the purpose of International Migratory Bird Day is to foster appreciation for wild birds and to celebrate and support migratory bird conservation and a call to action. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of Cross Lake hereby authorizes the City of Cross Lake to participate in the Bird City program and proclaims May 18th, 2019 as the first annual International Migratory Bird Day and urges citizens to celebrate this day and support efforts to protect and conserve migratory birds and their habitats in our community and the world at large. Thank you.
Before we have a motion, are there any questions or further comments, either from the Bird City Project team or from the council? If not, is there a motion on the floor to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Dave Schrupp first. Is there a second? I'll second it. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. The next one under Mayor's report is the League of Minnesota Cities is representing Dale Lewick as another one of our legislators who support small towns and recognize him for specifically his support to provide city wastewater treatment facilities with assurance that once they improve their facility to meet new environmental standards, they will not need to rebuild until they have been able to pay off a reasonably portion of the debt they incur. Now, keep in mind, this may not pertain to all communities in Minnesota, but we certainly want to recognize Dale Lewick for his contribution and support of small communities. So, with that, I don't see Tyler Glenn here from Bladick, and so we will wait until the October meeting, and he will give us an update on the Bladick Unified Fund. And just to give you a little snapshot of that, Cross Lake is the recipient of one of the loans that have been made recently, and it was the largest one that they have been made. So I'm going to wait until October to let Tyler give us the more news on that. Public forum. No action will be taken on any of the issues raised. If appropriate, the issues will be placed on the agenda of a future council meeting. Speaker must state their name and address. Each speaker is given a 3-minute time limit. Are there any comments from the public? And please state your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Denise McAlpine. My address is 12210 Pinedale Street, Cross Lake. I'm here because I have some questions and concerns about your meeting on August 20th concerning Pinedale Street.
It was the 13th.
Was it the 13th after all?
That's what you watched today.
Okay, the 13th, okay. I did come in a couple times to the city and talk to Mike and Ted and John today, and I viewed the video, and I was kind of concerned about what the information was given, which I consider misinformation or incorrect information. So I wanted the council to be aware that, so you can make a better judgment here, whatever knowledge, and hear from some of the other residents on Pinedale Street. My number one on the list, it was this kind of the consensus that the council was led to believe that Pinedale is all Calverley Woods. and it's in an association. It is not. I believe it's the West End is their area, and the East is private residence. So a lot of the decisions were made and given, motions were given to Cavally Woods Association. We are not part of Cavally Woods on my end. And I'm the owner of Lot 26, 27, 28, and 29. And this road that they're putting in is something that not everybody wants. And it was brought up in the discussion to do a study, and that's what some of the people did want. But unfortunately, we weren't aware that this meeting was going on, and nobody could be here. So that's why I'm here now, voicing myself as a property owner to share in what's going on Pinedale, because I have property on Pinedale, and so do others, that really aren't in favor of this, what's going on this private roadway. And I think the council should look into this a little bit more to get the right information. And maybe from more of the property owners there. I'd appreciate it if they would look into it more. And I am encouraging what you had said, and Ted had encouraged, to do a study. And I talked today with Mike and Ted and John about the process of doing a study, a petition and stuff, a little bit, so I would like to pursue that, if possible.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you, thank you. Moving on, we will go on to the city administrator's report.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, Council. Included in your packet under item 1, under my report, is a resolution for the preliminary 2018 tax levy collectible in 2019. And if you remember, we've had 2 previous meetings talking about the budget, and the consensus of the council was to adjust the levy from last year to an estimated tax rate of 29.09% to 30.36%, which is what this resolution is based on. So unless you have any further questions on the preliminary levy, now this is the time we have to set this by the end of this month, and you can go down from here, but you can't go up. So staff's recommendation is to set it as is stated in the resolution.
Is there a motion on the floor to adopt the resolution approving the preliminary 2018 or 2019 tax levy?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, there's a first by David Nevin. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Gary Heacock, second.
Little
Any
conversation,
questions
yeah.
or comments?
Are we going to have another meeting on the levy? I don't think there's one set, huh?
There is not one set, but if we want another one, we
There's
certainly...
actually two
Oh,
meetings
that's
set.
right.
There's one already set for October 22nd.
So that'll
Yep,
be the next one?
I'm sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, there is. So,
October 22nd.
This
Okay.
is 7%.
It's, in dollars, it's 7% more dollars than last year.
October 22nd at 3 PM.
And is that adequate? I mean,
there is, isn't there another
We
one?
have all of November.
Yeah,
okay. All right.
okay. Good, thank you. Are there any other comments or questions before we move on the motion on the floor? If not, all those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, thank you. The second item under my report is a request for the council to move the scheduled meeting in November, which is on November 12th, to Tuesday, November 13th. That's in recognition of our union contracts to honor Veterans Day, because it falls on a weekend, so we honor it on that following Monday for staff. So if I could have
Motion on the floor?
Yep.
Okay, motion on the floor to move our November council meeting to Tuesday, November 13th.
So moved.
Dave Schrupp first. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Gary Heacock, second. All those in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, thank you. The third item under my report is to set a time for a meeting on October 8th for a presentation from Five Bugles for the new Emergency Services Building consideration. And what that is, if you remember back in July, the council directed staff to engage Five Bugles Design to look at it, to do a space needs assessment for administration, fire, and police. We met with them about a week or so ago, last week, and went over some preliminary information to make sure that we're both in agreement as to what we both identified as the space needs through part of that study. What they'd like to do is to do a workshop with the council to say, okay, here's where we're at with this process, and we'd like to share some of our preliminary findings with you and get some direction on your thoughts and what you think and what direction you'd like us to go from here. If that works for the council, they're going to need about an hour and a half to 2 hours. There's a lot of stuff to go through. And so we're suggesting 4 p.m., either 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. prior to the council meeting on October 8th. If you do it earlier, you can take a break between the two meetings. If you do it right at 5, you're going to be probably pressed for time to.
I would
done
recommend
first.
4.
Okay, so
Okay, so a motion on the floor for a Five Bugles meeting with, regarding the Emergency Services Building at 4 o'clock on October 8th. Can I have a motion supporting
I'll
that?
make that motion.
David Nevin first. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Dave Schrupp, second. All those in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
and just one comment on that, that'll be a workshop meeting. And so there should be there should be a good opportunity for all of you to ask questions and learn more about the process and some of the recommendations they're trying to develop, okay? So item 4 is, and you've got these in your packet, there's 4 parcels of land that are tax forfeit in the city that the county is asking us to classify as non-conservation. And 2 of those parcels, one of the recommendations is they only be sold to the adjacent lot owners, and those are identified in your packet. What they represent are small pieces of tax forfeit land that need to be reclassified so the county can dispose of them. We're not seeing there's any need for us to have them. And the restrictions placed on 2 of those parcels really represent very, very small, non-buildable pieces of land that really wouldn't benefit anybody other than the adjacent property owner. So the recommendation is, from staff, is as stated in the resolution under F4, is to allow the county to reclassify those parcels as non-conservation.
The proceeds go to the county?
Yes.
Of the sale?
Yep.
Are there any other questions before we have a motion on the floor? If not, is there a motion to allow county to reclassify parcels as non-conservation?
I'll make that motion.
Brad Nelson first, and I'll second that. All those in favor of, are there any other questions or comments before we vote? All those in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, thank you. The last item under my report is there's a letter from Cross Lake Communications, and remember, as part of the asset sale, when the phone company was sold, was they were required to report to us periodically once a year, as soon after September 1st as they could. That was the closing date, if everyone remembers that, on where they're at with the investment in infrastructure with the system, and this is what that letter is reporting. And from the looks of the last 2 years, it appears that they're right on target with the terms of the sale agreement. Okay? That's just for council information. That's all I have, unless any of you have questions for me.
Any other questions for Mike? If not, we will continue on to our commission reports.
Good evening.
Hi, John.
I have one item on the agenda for you this evening. It is a recommendation from the Planning Commission Board of Adjustment to approve a preliminary plat for a parcel that is on Fawn Lake Road or County Road 120. They are going to, and I folded this up so we can see it better here, they're asking to create 10 new lots along the south edge of the parcel that's there. Each of the lots is in accordance with a variance that they received for 100-foot lot width and 201 feet deep. We have one condition that we would like you to put on it, that on Lot 9, they show the 50-foot wide power line easement that goes through there, it just eliminates a little bit of building space, so someone that purchases it in the future understands that they can't build underneath it. And then we'd also like to approve at this time that they submit cash in lieu of land for the park dedication fee. Park dedication fee will be due prior to the final plat that you'll probably see next month. So we're asking that you approve this, and with that one condition, and the cash in lieu of land for
Okay.
park.
John, there was some talk of some consolidation of the driveway approaches onto the property.
What we have went through and had heard nothing new from the county was that they're going to be sharing, each two lots would be sharing a driveway, and quite possibly they would be using the accesses that they're showing here. There's one here, 66-foot right away, and there's another right here, and they would access those lots right adjacent to it by going in on that 66-foot right-of-way that they're proposing and access from the north instead of from the south off of County Road 120. And I haven't heard anything new, different from the county.
But
That's
we're going to just leave it up to them. I mean,
Yes.
On their final.
correct.
Are there any other questions or comments for John? If not, can I have a motion on the floor to entertain a motion regarding the, what was it, the platted
It's a preliminary plat.
preliminary plat and cash in lieu of?
Yes.
And then the,
And one condition of
the
having
condition of,
the easement shown on the final plat.
yep, okay. Is there a motion on the floor to support that?
I'll make that motion.
Dave Nevin first, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Gary Heacock second. All those in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Mayor, council, good evening. I have 6 pieces to my staff report. I'll be touching base on the first 3. The first one, Cross Lake Disc Golf Classic. The Cross Lake Disc Golf Classic that was held in previous years during Cross Lake Days has been canceled. The Pal Foundation approved to cancel it due to low participation numbers and no volunteer coordinator this year. Second, soccer in Cross Lake. As the season is set to take off, the soccer program has generated great numbers. This year we have 53 kids registered to play, which is pretty awesome. Our program levels include K through 1, 2nd and 3rd grade, and 7th through 12th grade. Special thanks to our coaches this year, Clay Porter, Jenny and Jeremy Max, and David Hughes. My third number, fitness equipment. The order for new fitness equipment is almost finalized. I still have some more paperwork to finalize with the sales rep. It's pretty close. Once the order is in, it'll take 5 to 6 weeks to get delivered, which is pretty good timing, I think. Furthermore, the sales representative is giving us a 41% discount on each equipment piece, which totals to $14,769, so I thought that was pretty awesome. He noted in the email as he was giving me these deals, Dan noted, "I want to help out northern communities such as Cross Lake as best as I can." I think that's pretty cool, being noted or being recognized and them helping us out like that. So, my last piece of information, I'm saddened to let you all know that Gary Nordstrom has passed away. He was a part of our Parks Commission. I only knew Gary for a short time, being the new director here, but he was very involved. He was very positive and upbeat, and very driven. He will be very missed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank
good
you, TJ. Next is Public Works.
Good evening.
Good evening, Ted.
The first item, as you see before you, is the brush and yard waste site that we have at the Public Workshop. I brought it to the commissioners that evening a week ago, to try to open it up a couple days a week. And the commissioners that were present felt strongly about at this time to close the site. We don't have time really to be running it. And I said I would bring forward their motion to you as a body for your see at it. What it comes down to is we don't own the property that we have to go across to access to get to it. We don't have anybody hired this time to help run it. I was talking about opening it up on a Friday and a Saturday, a volunteer basis. And if it became a problem, we'd shut it down for whatever length of time the council permanently or whatever. That's what I was suggesting at the time. So I'm just bringing it forward to you for your action to let me know, because Char's getting phone calls daily, I'm getting phone calls daily, I'm having people show up. They expect us to be giving them a place to get rid of it, and that's where we're at today.
Before we put a motion on the floor, are there any comments or questions for Ted regarding the brush and yard waste site?
How long ago did we open that up for them, Ted?
The storm, I want to say 3 years ago, that one big storm we had where Anchor Point, and, we were blocked all around town.
And we
Manhattan
never
had a bunch
offered it.
down.
We never offered it before then.
I can't think of anything, maybe a little bit longer than that, maybe 4 years, but one of the storms is what really brought it forward.
Are there any other questions or comments?
The problem with it, I don't know, Ted, but I'm not in favor of closing it permanently. I think we have to research this a little bit, because otherwise you're going to have people dumping stuff along the sides of the roads. We had a situation where we used to have a lot of brush fires because of people dumping all this stuff all over. You had mentioned that there was some land down there that could be purchased.
And the council so directed me to work with the gentleman that owns it to come up with a price. And truthfully, I haven't had time with the startup of the plan, I haven't had time to even work with the gentleman yet, so.
We've spent a lot of time cleaning this city up, and I think that place has helped immensely.
Is there an alternate site at the community center? I used to haul brush and stumps over there.
They're limited with the Frisbee golf and all that. They're limited to the site there now. They did pile it out in the open, and we burnt it, but it was a big eyesore and a big mess back there, so. Mine's kind of out of sight, out of mind, so.
And I think there too, we experienced commercial trucks coming in and dumping at all times of the day when it was in back of the community center.
Yeah, we did it a little bit there too.
Yep.
That land down there that's for sale would also help if we had to do another expansion of the sewer, right?
Yes, that was probably one of the key things for future expense of the treatment plant. It was identified originally 19 years ago, 18 years ago now, as purchasing for the future.
I think we have to close it for a period of time, but I just don't like to see that thing closed permanently.
Well, and then I can take and go back and get that more information from the gentleman that owns the property next door and try to bring it back, and you guys can give me an action at the next meeting
Or
if
do you
that's so
want to make
choose.
a motion, Gary, stating that temporarily closed until further research and has been
I'll make that
completed?
motion that it's temporarily closed until we dig into this.
Well, it's closed
It
right
has
now.
been.
and you guys
Closed
until you-
closed indefinitely
We
until?
made that motion in May.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, you guys
right.
did that at May. It's
Right.
already closed,
Yeah.
so that's.
Okay.
We haven't opened it up.
Right.
I was just, from all the requests I was getting, I was gonna bring it forward to see about opening it up a couple days a week
Yeah.
and do it on a volunteer basis and to see how it worked out, but
You'd like to see it open.
personally, I could see the benefit to the community, just this is coming from me. I saw what was brought in, what people were bringing in. I saw how people were taking, and bringing things in. It wasn't sitting piled up in somebody's yard here and there. So yeah, I was I was trying to work with the people, because that's the direction I was getting from the people who are stopping in, or asking the questions, they're doing the calling. When are you going to open it up? We really enjoy it. Please don't close it down.
So if we do, we have to have somebody sit there and watch it if it's open.
We don't have money in the budget this year to do that. I drove by there today, and it isn't any different than it was in May, so it's still full, and I think a lot of your inability to get to writing rules and regulations are because we're rebuilding the sewer plant. You just haven't had any time to do it, so I'm kind of guessing that this fall is out. But maybe next spring, you talked about a couple days a week, maybe in the spring and the fall, like some communities do in the cities. And then we're going to have to put some money in the budget to have somebody sit there on a Saturday or Friday. But right now, we don't have rules, we don't have money for guys to sit there, it's not going to happen, and you don't have time to clean it up.
Truthfully, we haven't. With the treatment plant starting up and the work that's been loaded there has been,
So I would guess that we're going to be closed until spring.
I'm fine with that, but I don't want to see it.
We need some rules, though,
We
I
need
think,
some rules, we need some
talked about only
regulations.
Cross Lake residents, not commercial haulers that were,
So do you want to put a motion around that, Dave? Or
ahead.
Gary? Either one of you?
I think
or right now, if you just leave it as it is.
we can leave it the
And
way it
then-
is,
and
because
then-
we already have a motion to
Okay.
keep it closed indefinitely.
Okay.
pick a date down the road where you're going to have,
So we don't want to say in there that we will look at it again, then people's expectations get up. But
Maybe just that you're revisiting it in the springtime.
I do think we should look at purchasing that land down there.
Yeah, and I will be working on that very shortly here.
do you need anything else from the council, Ted, on this?
No, I just wanted you
Okay.
to, because, like I said, I know Char's getting calls about it all the time. I'm getting calls about it. People are stopping in. What's going on?
Okay. Okay.
The second one that you have on your there is a proposal for sanitary service collection system extension, basically up to the intersection of 16, going up 66. The proposal is a couple pages there, but the bottom line, it comes into $179,000 if we go forward with all phases, and that's all the way through completion and construction with record drawings. I guess if we're going to do anything, and just to be looking at it for a future project, the council could go ahead with the surveying and the geotechnical services at this time. And even if that's 2 years or 3 years down the road, the survey and the geotechnical information is still the information we're going to need for it to do it in the future. I haven't heard anything bad from the regeneration of the one septic system up there. So far, all I've heard is good things. I haven't heard anything bad from that one. I know there's still some need, but there's a lot of things to get through before we get there, so. But this is just one pace if we do the 16.8 or, and I don't even know where the money would be in the budget this year, so.
Are you asking me to comment on that?
Yes, please.
The money is not in the budget this year. You'd have to pay for it through a transfer from the general fund. And just so we understand the proposal, the total fees listed here are about $180,000. And that total fees does not include geotechnical services of $7,500, permitting of $710, lab services and construction testing fees that are not included. For budgeting purposes, geotechnical and testing budget of $25,000, so it's
I didn't catch that. Thank you, Mike.
$180,000 plus about $33,000 on top of that. Most of that would fall into this year.
I believe that was included in the budget that they gave us of $1.2 million for the sewer hookup. Mike, right?
Which was not in the budget either. Your only source of funds for that is to transfer money from the general fund right now.
If we're taking it off the critical point and doing it next year, is there a chance to pull some budget money out this year for next year to do it?
Either way, you're going to need to transfer money from the general fund to pay for it, whether it's this year or next year.
So what are we looking for? Anything on that, or?
Well, and we were in a big rush to hurry to get something up and running and constructed next year, and I think we get to take a step back now and breathe a little bit and plan the budget and future expansion a little bit better, so. If you, like I said, the only thing that might slow it down if you all of a sudden something comes up would be the survey and geotechnical. You could do that part of it, or you could do nothing and wait till next year to do it if you so choose.
What would the advantage be to go ahead and do that now?
Well, if you had the survey and the geotechnical work done, and something would happen in the middle of the winter, if one of these systems fails and we're reacting again, we couldn't be doing some of that survey work and that geotechnical work in the middle of the winter because of the frozen ground on that. So if you could have it done ahead of time, it's fine. Otherwise, you can wait till the spring and do it too.
And that is 16 and 25, so it's 41,000 to do those two?
Was it about 33 I had written down, but you may be right, Dave.
$16,800 and 25.
Gary, do you have any comments or questions, thoughts on this?
Have we made the decision that we were going to extend that? If we're going to make that decision, then you may as well do it. Because it's going to have to be done at some point in time.
Dave Schrupp?
It was my understanding that we were going to move ahead with this, but I didn't understand the juggling of the money. I probably missed that, but
Brad, do you have any questions or comments?
No comments.
So what did you say about having some money in it for next year to do that? I thought that you had said we had budgeted some money for that, no?
The way that we budgeted that before we had this document was we put a placeholder in there for sewer extension, whatever that was determined to be, of about 1.3 million,
Right.
of which 1.2 million would be funded by new debt.
so if we started the work in January, do you have issues with money then?
We don't have issues either way now because we don't have a funding source for it unless we issue bonds or spend current resources.
So what do you recommend, we wait a year?
Well, to Gary's point, you know, if you've identified this is the next area that you want to extend sewer to, and if you want to get the work done yet this fall, you'd need to start it relatively soon because it's probably easier. And I can't comment on this, Mike Reardon might be able to do survey work before the ground's frozen. Otherwise, you're waiting till probably spring.
Can I make a motion to go ahead and have that portion of it done?
Just the
The survey and the
geotechnical services?
geotechnical, yeah.
There is a motion on the floor to progress with
Survey,
geothermal
yeah.
technical testing. Is there a second of that?
I'll second that.
Any further comments or discussion before we take a final vote?
I think we have to commit and start doing some of these. I think it's been 17 years since we've done anything. Water quality is a big issue, and that's a problem, and I think we need to start doing it. So,
I have a question about and now this is funny money thing, but are we going to be under budget on the plant renovations this year? I mean, you had some money in there that was, you know, the money you were talking about for things that were not anticipated. Have we used all that up?
Not yet.
Now it's your turn.
It's up on the
Not yet.
surveying and geotechnical.
In the following report, there's a couple lines in there on some electrical outlets, and I don't recall one other thing that Ted wanted to have done, and we're getting the quotes for those now. And I'm thinking they're not gonna be that high. It appears to me we're gonna be at that 75 or lower, but I can't guarantee that right now. But it's not gonna even if it's over, it's not gonna be much. So in essence, we're gonna be on budget or under, it appears to me.
So to try to help you understand what that means, you're not going to be as far enough under budget to pay for these
Right.
services.
Right.
So your source of funding will need to be a transfer from the general fund.
Yeah.
Okay?
You can do that?
You can authorize me to do that to finance this, yes.
Okay.
My
Any,
motion will stay then, yeah.
okay, any other comments or questions before we vote on the motion on the floor? All those in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. The last item is for your information on the monthly update of where they're at on the treatment plant. Things are progressing nicely. The bells and whistles are starting to come on. The SCADA system is up and running. We've had it for a little over a week. Tomorrow will be a pretty big milestone. They're going to start hooking in the old stuff into the new. So you give us another week or two and we'll be almost 100% complete. They've got grass seed down, and there's still a few punch list things they got to get taken care of, but it's getting close. Where he was talking about those outlets, in the original design, I asked for convenience outlets at the different stations around the plant, rather than running drop cords all over the place and having those issues with electrical inspectors like we did this past summer with them being out there, and he didn't like all that. But so I just had asked at the design, so I'm just trying to follow through. That it got missed in the project, in the original design, so I'm asking for it now. Otherwise, it's working pretty good. I would encourage you to come down there and take a look at it, see where your money has gone. I encourage anybody in the public that wants to come and see it, come and see it. It's kind of fun to run right now.
Are you still running around with the iPad?
It's in the back room.
Oh,
It's in the back room. I can bring it up right here and put it right here and show you what pumps are on, how much flow's gone through, where we're at any given time. And it's actually on our smartphone still. So it's coming along. On another note, just for your council's information, our 2010 Mac, we're having issues. The last winter, the plow doesn't track anymore. It wanders as you're going down the road. All the pins and bushings are wore on it. We took it down to Falls. We had made an appointment last spring. This is the soonest they could get it in their schedule. We got it in there, and it's cost more to repair it than it does to buy a new one. So they had a new used one that was on a demo truck there on hand. They gave us a pretty good discount on it. I moved forward with purchasing that. So just for your information, it's not painted the right color, but it'll still do the job moving snow. With that, I have nothing else unless you have something for me.
Any other questions or comments for Ted?
Nope.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ted.
Thanks, Ted.
And finally, under commission reports, our last one is public safety.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. I think I've learned that I should probably get on the agenda before fire and public works. When I come up and ask for money, might be easier. Just requesting permission to purchase a 2019 Squad, basically the Ford SUV that we've been using. The deadline for ordering is September 21st. And the price of the Squad, as expected out, was $28,475 and some change. We shouldn't get it before 2019, and it is part of the 2019 budget, but it has arrived. They have been known to arrive prior to the end of the year, and we've had to pull money and then replace it with next year's budget. So,
Okay. So you're asking for a motion from the council to approve
Correct.
the 2019 Ford Police. Any questions or comments from the council
Is
before?
that 28,000 for that vehicle, does that come with all the lights and
No.
all the?
nope, that's just the vehicle. There are a couple lights that are put on there, but the
So what does it cost to equip it?
When everything's said and done, it's probably, from the ground up, you're probably looking at about 53.
And where does that fall into here?
We do have, I think, 53 or 56 budgeted for next year. What that includes is, the computer, radio, which we won't be replacing computer or the radio. We will be replacing the computer. That includes the camera. That won't be replaced this year. We're going to move that over to the next car. That includes all the new lights.
Shouldn't
That
that be
won't-
presented, though, as the full package when it comes, like, something like that? Not to get
That-
particular, but,
If I could, I would, but this is, I don't go to Hibbing Ford for putting the package
it just seems
together.
odd, though, if we authorize 28 for a new vehicle and it comes, the rest, the other 20 or something is just assumed, and, I don't know.
It's all, it all was in the budget for 2019, the whole
Correct.
squad, it just showed up a
Right.
little
Not
early.
This is
broken-
just
not broken down.
requesting permission to purchase the actual car, not to have it set up. I mean, we can certainly take a look at, we've always used Andy over at Fish Electronics Squad Pro. For the last few years, we've used him to set it up. And the reason we do that is because if we have an issue, we can just run it over to him.
No, it is what it
Fix it,
is. I'm
but-
not questioning that. I just thought 28 was pretty cheap for a setup.
Yeah, that would be
Cop car.
very cheap, but,
If I could,
Just
one-
I have to go to CDW government for the computer. I've got to go to federal for the lights. I've got to go to Havas Shield for the.
Or you go to Andy and
Computer
just have
model.
it done. I mean,
Well, no, I do order a lot of this stuff myself prior to getting Andy.
But, and we can get a report on, for
Sure, it's
those
all
who are
detailed
interested who
when
are.
monthly reports.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Say, Mike, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I did. Remember about a year or so ago, we had the opportunity to buy 2 cars at a lower price. And so we pulled that budget item in, and we went ahead and we budgeted again for the car to replenish that fund or carry over that budget. And so we did that again this year, so he'll have adequate funds to pay for the car, whether it arrives this year or next. The other thing is, he doesn't, when you start tearing things out of those cars, there is a market for used squad cars. And what we
Yeah.
do is we use the money that we get from any sale of that squad car to offset the cost of the new one, to buy things like lights and computers that need to be replaced and radios. We're not going to know what that is until we need to replace those. And in the meantime, what staff have usually done is they've either found a home for that car, and not every agency that might buy that wants the same equipment, and some want it, and they're willing to pay more for it. And so we're not sure where that's going to come in now, but if you were starting from scratch, to answer Mr. Nevin's question, that $48,000 to $50,000 range is about what it costs to fully equip a car from the ground up.
I don't doubt it at all. It just seemed a little misleading the way it looked there to me.
Yeah,
all.
that's why we do it this way. And as Eric said, we're not sure what those additional pieces are going to be, but we know what the cost of the car is. The other thing, too, is I know they're changing the model.
In
In
the reason that
2020?
we're ordering it so early this year, normally it's October that we have to have the
Yeah.
order in. In February, they're stopping production of the 2019 Ford SUV, and starting in April on the 2020, which is going to be a hybrid, which will be $3,000 to $7,000 more when they finally bring that out. So yeah, we'll be having electric police cars here in the future.
Any other questions or comments for Eric before we have a motion on the floor?
I'll make a motion to purchase it.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Gary Hecox first, Brad Nelson second. All those in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're down to the public forum. No action will be taken on any of the issues raised. If appropriate, the issues will be placed on the agenda of a future council meeting. Speaker must state their name and address. Each speaker is given a 3-minute time limit. It's all yours for the next 30 seconds. If not, we will continue on. Brad Person, attorney, do you have any reports for us this evening?
No report. They got somebody there, Pat.
Oh, sorry. And please state your name and address again.
My name is Denise McAlpine. My address is 12210 Pinedale Street. I'm not real familiar being a public speaker here, but I do have to voice my options here as a property owner on Pinedale Street. There was other things in the council meeting that I found a little questionable about the tree trimming. The council made a motion to allow tree trimming on the road right away. And in the paper it states, the paper states tree trimming and the council motion for tree removal on the right-of-way. I was kind of alarmed at this because there seems to be some kind of a tree fetish out there, and that's a lot of trees to remove. I don't know if the council is aware of that they gave the
We
motion to
we can't
remove.
comment at all, can we?
Right.
Yeah.
But that should be something looked into, and my suggestion to look over your minutes. And this culvert that the city gave, this project that's going on there, they gave the culvert, but the contractor is supposed to install it. I have spoke to the contractor. He was not aware that he was supposed to install this. So that's kind of an iffy thing going on right now. And these are things that need to be looked at that was discussed at that meeting. And I do want to say, I wished I would have had the opportunity to be at this meeting so I could speak on some of this. And also that I never gave the approval for somebody to come in and represent me. And I don't know why that happened, but it did. And I'd really like the council to look into what went on at that meeting and what was asked at that meeting. And kind of get the property owners more educated on it and information that went on there.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, I mean, how do we follow up on that?
You would put it as an item on another meeting.
Agenda item.
Can you do that or something?
Yep,
I mean,
we'll-
we should
Follow
up on
through, I'll follow through with Shar and Mike. Is there any old business? Is there any new business?
I have got a new business that I'd like to ask. I'd like to ask the council to I'd like to go talk to the guy who owns the old charter school and come back to the council next meeting with what I can find out about the price of that. I just think it's important that we talk about it as a group before it is sold, because it is adjacent to this property, and I've asked questions about it, and I haven't really got anything firm, and I got a couple ideas, and I'd just like to go talk to him. So,
Okay.
I don't want to do it without your blessing.
Does he even need to ask our permission to go and talk to him on behalf of the council or on behalf of himself?
Well, it would be on,
Behalf of the council?
it's not because of me, it's because of the city or the council, so.
Would it be appropriate to put that on the workshop or not?
We've probably got enough to talk about at the next workshop meeting about the
Okay.
building.
Shouldn't we talk
Do you want
about, do the workshop and then,
to talk about it?
I don't even know what we're looking at.
The only
We're kind of
reason
getting one thing ahead of the other here.
Well, we are, except regardless of what happens at the workshop, I just feel like it's a nice piece of property adjacent to this, and I don't know if there's another one in town, and I think before it's gone, we should at least talk about it, regardless of what happens at the workshop. Because once it's gone, so, that's all. I'm just curious about it and would like to pursue it a little bit before it's too late.
Do we want to add it to that agenda on October 8th?
Well, he's asking for your permission to do it.
I'd like to bring something, my conversation,
Oh,
it's
to
a
the-
casual
okay,
conversation I'm going to
okay.
have, but I mean,
Council, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm-
In other words, you're asking for permission to talk to the landowner to see what he wants for the property.
yeah. See if there's any creative ways or anything to do it informally, and just come back with what I talked about.
Can you bring that back to the workshop?
Hopefully. I don't think it'll take a long time.
Okay. How does that sound? Or would you rather have more council people involved in the
I don't see
conversation?
where a fact-finding tour is, I find it's a very odd building. It's going to be very difficult to sell, but it doesn't meet any, demands really of a business. It doesn't, so I understand it doesn't hurt to just ask, but even if it was listed for sale today, I
That
don't
would
see
give
that
this
as being
property, Brett, about a 9-acre chunk
Oh,
right
I
here.
understand.
And that's the
I'm-
only
you know.
thing that I don't think we can.
Right, I'm just saying is I
reproduce in town.
don't see it as being a super, it's a very expensive, the land is what's valuable, the building, has an odd design to create a lot of excitement or
I
demand
know,
for any other kind of
absolutely.
business, but,
That-
but it doesn't hurt to ask, you gotta start somewhere.
That's all I'd like
I
to.
don't have any problem, I guess it'll just be
I-
another big number on a bigger number.
See if you'd like to keep the buildings, we
Yeah,
just want the land.
Take them with.
Yeah,
Take the building
move
with
'em.
and-
Well, I'd just like to
Right.
satisfy myself
Okay.
with it before
Yeah.
it's too late,
Yeah.
that's all.
Okay,
I'm
go
okay.
ahead, yep.
As long as you don't make any promises.
I won't.
Is there any other new business? If not, entertain a motion for the meeting to be adjourned.
So moved.
Schrupp first, is there a second?
I'll second.
Nelson second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.